Hey Iris, I got a joke to tell you.
What?
Why do gardeners make good authorities?
I don't know.
Because they know how to weed out bad behavior. In this video, I'm going to continue to try to explain the 1689 to my 4-year-old. Today, we're going to talk about freedom and authority. We're going to explain what a conscience is and why it's free, because Jesus frees Christians from sin. We're also going to talk about how God's authority helps us understand other authorities, like when it's right and wrong to obey them. Let's go! All right, Iris, let's talk about the conscience.
The conscience? I don't know what conscience is.
I know. I'm going to try to explain it to you. I'm going to pretend to draw you, okay? Here's you, legs, and I'm going to do some beautiful hair. A conscience is like a book.
A book.
Inside your head.
A conscience.
Yeah.
Really?
Do you want to know what the book is about inside your head? God made us, and He put a conscience inside of our head.
I can't knock it out.
Did you know that when God made you, He gave you eyes, ears, a nose, and a conscience inside of you?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have a conscience, I have a conscience,
Mom has a conscience.
Mom has a conscience,
Oliver has a conscience.
just like we have fingers.
Oh!
Now, the conscience is like
Phalanges.
phalanges. Christian school is working. Okay, so a conscience is like a book, and do you know what this book is about? Pretend like this is a book.
What?
It's about...
10 Commandments!
Yes! God's law in a book inside of our brains. The conscience inside of you and me tells us when we do something right and wrong. Now guess what? You know what this means? Is that God is your highest authority.
I do know that!
So do you know who all your authorities are?
My parents.
Who else?
Ree and Pop and Papa and you and Mom and
Is Lily your authority?
no.
Your dog?
No.
No.
Think about something else.
Okay.
BB and Juju and is my authority.
Yeah.
And what?
What about the people next door?
What next door? Police?
Yeah, and he is one of our authorities, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like a little judge. He goes around, and if people aren't obeying, then they get in trouble, right?
With George.
Yeah, with George. And then George has an authority. He has judges too, right?
What's his judges?
Landry. Wait, but who's the judge of America?
Huh?
Trump. Who's the judge above Donald Trump?
Jesus.
That's right. God is the highest authority.
About to say that, Jesus.
So we need to obey all authorities because all authority comes from God, right? So there's
What are you raising me?
God. Let's do a big crown for God. Mom and Dad, Trump, George.
Are you doing our the authorities?
But all of these authorities are underneath God. So that means if Iris is underneath here, she's obeying all these different authorities. You obey God for 2 reasons. Number 1, He made you. Number 2, do you know why?
Because we have to obey Him.
But why?
Because He died on the cross for sinners.
Because Jesus died for sinners, we need to obey. And you know what that means? When Jesus died for sinners, He freed us from a very bad authority.
What's the very bad authority?
Who went into the garden?
Adam and Eve.
Who snuck in the garden and tricked Adam and Eve? Yeah, He's a bad authority. And Jesus frees us from sin and Satan. So guess what that means? We are free to obey God.
Yay!
Yeah. And the Second London Baptist Confession of Faith, which is a book about the...
Old Testament.
What's the Old and New Testament make up the what that we read every night?
The Bible.
The Bible. This is a book about the Bible. So this book about the Bible, the Baptists, more than any other Christians, paid really close attention to the Apostle
Paul.
That's right. They paid attention to the Apostle Paul, and they said, you know what's really, 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 really important?
The Apostle Paul.
Is the conscience. This conscience right here is made by God. So we know we need...
God made conscience in our brain.
That's right. And when we died in Adam, this conscience became, when we're born, we are...
Sinful and sad.
Yeah, we're sinful and sad. So Jesus sprinkles his blood on our consciences and saves us.
Oh.
Because our consciences, guess what? When we're born sinful and sad, our consciences are always reminding us when we're doing good and when we're doing bad.
Oh, which we went on here.
And so we say, man, I can never have a relationship with God because I'm always doing bad. And then our conscience tells us when we do something right. Jesus' blood.
Just keep it on there.
Pretend like those are blood drops. He sprinkles his blood on our consciences and frees our conscience to be able to obey God as our highest authority. We're free to obey God because Jesus saves us. Jesus frees us to obey God who made us. Did you know that sometimes, though, we shouldn't obey authorities? Sometimes, if an authority asks you to sin against God, you shouldn't obey them. What should you say if Dad asks you to lie?
I'm not gonna obey you.
God says do not lie. But if you're D for Dad, but if your dad who's under God's authority, if your dad tells Iris to sin, do you obey me or do you obey God? God's your highest authority. So if your dad asks you to lie or sin or break any of the 10 commandments, you say, I need to obey God and not you right now because I can't sin against God. You did not make me. God made me. We take our dirty consciences, we clean them in a shower, and now we're free to obey God happy. Right? Because we're...
Got those rotten oranges all us.
Got the rotten oranges all off. You're free in Jesus to obey the Lord. Keep obeying Jesus. Keep believing the gospel and obeying the Lord Jesus. And...
Thank God for our video.
Thank God for our video. And stay Baptist, my friends.
Okay, my turn.
Okay.
Hey, Daddy, I have a joke to tell you.
What?
Why did Vinny chase Alan around while Alan was running on the road?
I don't know. Why?
Because Aslan wanted food.
What?